We are from the era when the computer is being introduced. Everybody was very worried about it. First of all, the first story was that it will take away a lot of jobs. Second thing was how the people will use. They are not trained. They're not. But if you see today, it has not really taken a job out. The 60%, more than 60% of our GDP comes from your this sector, service sector, especially the IT. And the older people have started using computer, and they use, I have seen the people are using in mobile on their computer. And but I think it will settle down. It will settle down slowly. You see that when I talk about the opportunities here, especially in Bengal, I see a lot of opportunities. This application of artificial intelligence we know, but we are not really working on making the hardwares. We are not making enough of robots. The robots making is, if you look at it, is not very high-end. You get possibly some robotic cubes or something they call it, and just add and you can finish that one, those things. There's opportunities are there. We have to really look into the making the hardwares. Softwares, we are expert in making the softwares. We're making artificial intelligence, your packages. But we have to look into the making the hardwares now. This is an opportunity. Huge opportunities coming. I said, really not many people are thinking on that line in all over India, except the big companies. Second opportunity, I will just give a small your example. Like you see that electronic car or electric car, battery operated car is coming. It is inevitable. It will come. But can you imagine if you can make your fast charging battery charger? All this petrol pump, what you see today, what will be the charging stations? All the parking stations, all parking bays will be the charging stations. And you have to really give a full charge to a battery maybe within 15 minutes, half an hour, I don't know. I don't have these are opportunities. When I was sitting in the chambers, when this all of you are here, I can urge upon you that you try to do something, take advantage of this. I have seen a very simple thing in some hotel abroad. Now what is happening is, you see there is a mini bar. In every hotel there is a mini bar in a hotel room. The people come and check every day whether you have taken something or not. What is a modern phenomena? I have seen this in Israel and I have seen this in Russia in my recent visit. They have trays. Trays are some chips or something it has been added. So whenever you pick up a bottle, whenever pick up something from there, it is immediately sent across the information to the room and then they don't have to come and see anything. So this is also a device. This is something is fitted in that refrigerator. This thing is coming up. We can think, small things, there are a lot of opportunities, a lot of young faces I see here, must be from some institute or some industry. We have to look at all these things and take the advantage of what is happening in the automation, or they call it mechatronics or whatever you call it. We can really do a lot of things or take advantage of these automations. Now I open the floor for any questions, any discussion. If you have, some of you want to give a little bit of talk on this, we have about 5 minutes left. I open the floor for the questions.
Mr. Dotto, if I may add to what you have said. There is one aspect which really needs looking into, and taking on from what you have just mentioned, is the very common word we hear, apps. For every single service that is rendered to the citizens, there is an app. Now, one of the things that I noticed while using and working on these processes with the government, that the apps fail. Why does it fail? It was used for, very recently, if you may know about it, the e-challans of traffic violations in Mumbai, as well as during the local body elections in February as a true voter. Now, working in both the fields, we noticed that both had certain challenges. And it shows that unless the support system is robust, apps will not be effective. In the other sector, when a lot of people come to me because of the work I do to say, ma'am, why don't you make an app out of this? Can we make an app for you? So the common thing is that yes, by all means make an app. But unless you have the support system to keep everything very current and all information literally to the second updated, the apps are highly compromised and apps are not very effective. It's a thought for development of, for future of those people who are working in the technical field. So I thought that I would like to share some of the things that from society, the challenges that come up. And ultimately, when, the citizens, the data that is thrown up, because I heard a lot about the data and the data analytics, etc., that when you hear the citizens, all the opportunities to make it into a business venture does exist in all of these talk. So listening and gathering the data and turning all the challenges into solutions and a business model perhaps would be very useful. I thought I would like to place this.
Thank you. Any questions? Yeah, please introduce yourself and keep the questions brief. Okay, if you have questions or you want to say something.
I'm D.P. Sinha, now representing Computer Society of India. If we are to take automation from one bank of a river to the other bank, with the society, the existing societies, a number of bridges will be required, not of the same size or same scale. A bridge in an urban setting is not necessarily the same in a village environment. Like smart cities, smart villages have also come to stay. My question to Kani and Mr. Rai Chaudhary from two different angles, sociological and economic, that will there be a more conflict in this smart villages or smart cities in terms of the affordability, practicability, applicability of using technologies if new technologies are introduced? Thank you.
Shall I give the answer right now? Well, whenever new things come, there will be always a tussle between the old and the new. But you are quite right. When we have the smart cities and when you have smart villages or smart semi-urban areas, whatever you say, one has to be very careful that the gap between the non-smart and the smart, if that widens, think about what happened in China, the whole East Coast, the coastal region, they have so much of SEZ and so much of development, and the inland of China did not have that. And there's a huge gap. One of the worst income inequality situation in the last 20 years or so is China. If that happens to us, like a smart and non-smart, and the gap widens, that's something which we do not desire. But that need not necessarily be the case. If there is a proper planning, one can really spread the things. You know, we are thinkers in India. We think today and we execute in maybe in another 20 years. If that doesn't happen, and if the executions takes place quickly, which I am not sure whether that will happen, East Asia have shown that did. Whether we can do it or not, time will tell. If that happens, with a conscious effort, that sort of a gap can be bridged to a certain extent.
Thank you. Please.
You say, my name is S.K. Banerjee. I think you know me. I asked for a vote for you. I think you remember Institute of Engineers. You see, you wanted that, you said that if you have got something to add. So may I add one? Just
Please.
I'll take 300 seconds.
10 minutes.
300 seconds.
Okay.
You see, when I was speaking in 90s, I used to speak to my participants that, it is television, then solovision will come, then smellovision will come. Dadi is desirous to know what is the smell of the flower, smell of the food, it will come. Similarly, I am telling you, Mr. Datta, you are traveling with a car. Your driver said out of power. Then what you did, you have got a device. First 2 numbers, the country. Second 2 numbers, your state. Next 2 numbers, your location. Then next 2 numbers, which power you want, nuclear or hydro or solar. Then 2 numbers, how many units. That will come.
Thank you. This is
Shall
what...
I repeat? Shall I repeat?
No, you have understood. Thank you. Anything else? Any query? Yeah, please.
My name is Arnob. I represent an analytics company. The question is to Ajita Babu. You spoke of reskilling. Now, reskilling was touched upon by a gentleman from Infosys prior, but he spoke primarily about reskilling for the software people. Now, the challenge there is primarily interest. If someone does not have interest, he doesn't reskill, that's a separate problem. But when we speak about reskilling at the very low level, at scale, then what are the primary challenges? You said in the US the reskilling has come so down. What are the primary challenges in case of reskilling? If you could just speak about that.
Well, it's an issue, as I said, one can spend the whole day on this. To be very precise in 1 or 2 words, not everybody should go for graduate education. You need what is needed, and what United States reskilling, you talked about that. They have this vocational training to the community colleges. They merged the training institutes and 2 years colleges, etc. And they have now the community colleges, which is highly successful. The point is, you can have vocational education, but if it is completely detached from the need of the industry in the locality, or the need, the demand and supply mapping, essentially, the skill map and the demand and supply map. If everybody takes a training, has to run 300 kilometers to get a job, that's not reskilling. Our vocational education, the courses, if you look at it, the way it is designed, how much is the symbiosis, so to say, between the local industry there and the vocational education which is being carried out. There is no idea, very clear idea, who are the persons who need which kind of skill and where would they be employed. That's something which is absolutely perfectly done in the community college setup in the United States. That's why they are very successful there. Somewhat missing in our whole vocational education scenario. A mismatch between the skills and the demand.
I get your point. In this context, I just want to add one thing. I saw some time back an amazing example of augmented reality. There was a welding teaching equipment which used augmented reality to train people from the very lower strata how to do welding. Thank you.
Yeah, I think as we'll finish this session. If you have anything, you can just take it. You have some query? Yeah, please. And you take the mic, please.
Whatever we talk about in India, it's unfortunately or fortunately, it is, within this closed walls of the organized sector, And there is so much of raw intelligence that is there in the unorganized sector. And whatever you talk about, even the primary sector like agriculture, on which we are all dependent on, that requires so much of automation. And that automation, they can partake so much of automation actually. Or any other services, even the organized sector, the way they use, the word outsourcing is used today. I mean, it's been almost abused to the extent of, outsourcing it and making sure that they take all the brunt and the organized sector companies, the so-called companies, benefit and they reduce costs based on that. Now, don't you think that has to be automated to a large extent for the overall country to survive? Whether we talk about reskilling, all these, the root problems are, wherever the skills are, they get marginalized. The real skills get marginalized to a large extent in the country, if you see. And the skills which are so-called, which are accepted in the market, are not the skills always that add value. So therefore, there is this dichotomy between the people who add value vis-a-vis the people who really, get the benefit of that value. So
Yeah.
don't you think that there, how do you look at, because I mean the roots for these reskilling and all, whether you talk about vocational education or you talk about skilling, getting the right skills to do the work, or not everyone, doing the same graduation program and reaching a stage where everyone is just another graduate but they don't know what to do next. All these are somewhere linked.
Yeah, understood. Basically, I can tell you this is a supply and demand, everything it balances. End of the day, it always balances. Now, if there is a demand, today if you see the demand of the IT graduates is not there. So automatically the colleges who had this your IT institute or IT department, they're suffering.
Right.
Now demand is coming in the area of mechatronics or mechanical and electronics. The seats people are going there.
Right.
It is a automatic adjustment in the society, in the educational system, everywhere. This will automatically adjust.
Sure.
Of its own. And it is if you talk about the rural sector, it is the people who are sitting here and outside. So we have to think, we have to really do something. And that's what I said. The way that the Kalyan, I know Kalyan very well, he is trying to do something.
Right.
He is trying to bring in a proper agroeconomic balances throughout the country. But where does he get this funding?
Right. And I'm saying you can do it profitably. I mean, it's
And
not that,
yes, profitable.
I mean,
It
the
could be a
point
profitable.
is someone thinking along those lines.
Certainly.
It's not
Certainly.
that you need to do social service there. You can
Okay,
do it profitably.
thank you very much. I'm also personally a little bit in a hurry. I have some other appointment. Thank you very much. Thank you, Indrani, Professor Rai Chaudhary, and Kosturi. Thanks for your talk. It was an excellent session, really. I think if I sit here for another hour, then probably everybody will have some query in their mind and they will love to talk about it as such a subject. Thank you. Thanks to Bengal Chamber for giving us this opportunity to handle this valedictory session. Thanks. Thank you all.
Thank you, the chairperson and the panelists, for being with us and joining us today. I would request Sir Mr. Kollol Dotto to please present mementos to the panelists. To Ms. Malkani. To Professor Rai Chaudhary. To Ms. Bhattacharya. Thank you, everybody. Please join us for tea coffee.